Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective podcast. My name's Nathaniel, and today I am all alone. Matt is currently stuck at work, unable to record today, so I thought I would myself give you a sort of rundown, bit of a preview for the 2026 Winter Olympics ice hockey tournament that's coming up. You may have heard of it, we've mentioned it a few times on this podcast in the past few weeks. I know Matt is extremely gutted that he isn't able to join me today to talk about this. I'm sure he'll join us later on in the week, and we'll talk about obviously the games that are being played, but I thought it's best to give you a sort of a rundown, a bit of a preview as to what to expect. This is a great opportunity for those out there who may not want to stay up so late to watch NHL hockey, but NHL players are going to be playing at decent times in sort of the European time zone, so it's a great opportunity to see all of these great players playing for their nations against each other. Obviously the Olympics take place every 4 years. This year's a bit special, mainly because of the fact NHL players are taking part. First time since 2014. Now, there was an agreement for NHL players to play in the Olympics back in 2022, but due to COVID, they declined. But I think essentially it's been a bit of a point of contention. Obviously, these teams, they're professional athletes. They don't want. It's a highly competitive, combative sport. The last thing these teams need in the NHL is to have their star player injured while playing for their sort of country, not on their roster, and it could derail their season. But I think common sense has won out. We're going to be treated to an absolutely great tournament, and I'm going to break it down for you. So, obviously, there's two stadiums games being played at in Milan, in Italy. 12 countries have qualified for the tournament. 8 of them have qualified automatically by virtue of their ranking for the International Ice Hockey Federation. A bit of a bone of contention there. I'll come on to that in a second. One is Italy, which automatically qualified as hosts. Something I think also most tournaments will have these days, is the automatic qualified as hosts. And then 3 more teams have won and qualified out of a sort of a bracket tournament on the way up. So I'll quickly sort of run down the teams that are there. I will go into a bit more detail about their chances and what we might expect from them in the coming weeks. But these games will be going to be played between the 11th and the 22nd of February. So this podcast will be released on the 10th of February, the day before. It's actually being recorded on the 10th of February too, so all in one day. But just a sort of bit of background, the defending champions are currently Finland. You might be a bit surprised by that, obviously, as I break down the teams in due course. But don't forget, NHL players weren't playing in the previous tournaments. Therefore, other squads maybe were sort of weaker than you might expect. I know we touched on sort of the top 4 team squads a few weeks ago. It's hard to get away from Canada, America's being sort of up there with the best chances of winning. But obviously Finland are the defending champions. Could they do it again? We shall see. But yeah, Italy qualified as automatically. Now the 2023 Ice Hockey World Rankings have Canada, Finland, United States, Sweden, Germany, Switzerland, the Czech Republic. The 8th team in that is Russia. Okay, famous obviously Alexander Ovechkin, who is not taking part in these Olympic tournaments. I'm sure everyone's aware right now, but Russia and Belarus are banned from competing due to the invasion of Ukraine. Not going to talk about that in great detail. It is a shame in terms of the hockey arena. Some great players aren't going to be playing, and so obviously Russia would be a half-decent team, I think, at this Olympic Games, but in purely sporting terms. But they're not going to be there. So the 9th team in the rankings, which are then qualified automatically, are France. Okay. The 3 teams have qualified through the qualification tournaments are Slovakia, Latvia and Denmark. Now, us Brits may be wondering, where's Great Britain? in all of these qualified teams. Now, we did alright in qualification. We got through to essentially the final group stage qualification. We shared a group with Norway, Denmark, and another team which escapes my mind right now. Not that that's important, but we finished third in that group, behind Norway and behind Denmark. So we didn't quite make it. Obviously, it's a rising sport over here. So maybe in 4 years' time, you might be able to make a push and reach the Olympics. But no Great Britain to support on here for us Brits. That leaves us open to support whoever it is we want to support then. But yeah, so 12 teams make up this tournament. There's 3 groups, 4 teams each, and they each play each team once. The top team and the second place team advance to the quarterfinals, and all the other teams play a qualification round. And then from there on, it's a round robin knockout tournament, as you might expect. So with that in mind, then we'll go through each team sort of one by one. I'll cover off sort of expectations of what we might get from them, and to assist me with this, I'm actually going to pull from an article from the rotoballer.com website. The author being an Andy Smith, so props to Andy Smith. This has really helped out because though I am an NHL fan and I do watch the Elite Ice Hockey League in the UK as well, I'm not extremely familiar with all of these teams and all of their sort of their makeup, etc. So props to Andy Smith to bringing us all back in, but he's sort of done a sort of a power ranking style, so I'll just go off of that. I'll include some of my thoughts and I sort of ad-lib Matt's section as well. I know some of his thoughts and opinions. It's a shame he's not here, but yes, I certainly know some of his views and things. So we'll start off with the sort of the 12th team, and it is going to be Italy. Obviously, they're the host team, so they automatically qualify. Would they have qualified? Would they have qualified if it weren't for the fact they were hosting? I don't think they would have done. But again, you never know. But they're here. They're competitive. Anything can happen. They're playing on their own patch, their own pride, in front of their own sort of crowd. So you never know what might happen. But I think the big component here is that they don't have any current NHL players. And obviously we present the NHL as the best hockey product in the world. It probably is in most competitive senses, so that is immediately sort of a disadvantage. They do have a goaltender, Damien Clara, who's some experience in North America. He was drafted by the Ducks in the 2023 NHL draft. He spent a bit of time in the AHL, but then he's since moved to the SHL, where he has spent this entire last season. So again, I'm not expecting things from Italy. I don't think they'll get out of the group stage, essentially. I think they'll be sort of done, but it would be very good to watch for them. Now, interestingly, I think France, even though they automatically qualified for this tournament, but I do think they're another sort of weaker team. They only have one current NHL player and one former NHL player. Alexander Texier of the Montreal Canadiens is sort of their star name, one to look out for. So keep an eye out on them. But again, I don't particularly think they're not a well-known ice hockey country of France, but I said here, and they're gonna hopefully change a few people's minds. But then we'll go into sort of, I guess, Denmark, I think, is sort of the ones that are coming up. We've got Denmark, Latvia, sort of Slovakia, all kind of the qualified teams, are the teams I'm looking at, are the sort of potential sort of lower end of the sort of the rankings of these teams. Denmark has a few NHL players. Nikolai Ehlers of the Carolina Hurricanes. They've got Oliver Borkstrand from the Lightning, Lars Eller from the Ottawa Senators, mainly as sort of the big Danish names. So you've got Freddie Anderson of the Hurricanes in goal. Obviously we know how sort of tough a season he's been having for the Hurricanes, especially when Brandon Bussey is there doing as well as he's doing. So I I won't be surprised if Denmark get a scalp here or there. Maybe they might win a game you wouldn't expect them to win. But ultimately, are they going to be in the running to win this tournament? I can't see it myself. We'll cover sort of Latvia next. They've got a few names you might recognise. Obviously, Latvia, sort of a Baltic country, isn't it? So is no sort of bit for its ice hockey, but it's also a bit of a understated. I remember in the football they got to the World Cup once and or the Euro Championships, I think it was, and surprised a few people. But in terms of hockey, you might recognise Artur Silovs of the Penguins. It's a great goaltenders really. Elvis Merzlikins as well. So they'll be sort of battling out for the starting goaltender's job. But I think Silovs will win that. You might recognise Zimas Gurgensons. Done all right for the Lightning this year. The controversial Sandis Vilmanis for the Panthers, known for the hit on Charlie McAvoy. And then it's obviously several AHL forwards as well. I mean, they've also got Juvis Balinskis for the Panthers as well. I think he's played a lot of minutes this year and he's done all right. So, again, a lot like Denmark. They made it here on merit. They've won a big, long qualification tournament to get here. And hopefully they'll make a bit of an impact here. But are they going to be in the chance of winning this tournament? I don't think so. We'll move on then to Slovakia. They got Montreal's budding superstar Juraj Slavovsky. Sorry, Matt, I know you'll be shouting at me for the pronunciation of that name. I've done my very best. He's the first overall pick. He's been doing all right in the NHL for that young Montreal team. He's definitely named to look out for on the Slovakia team. Other than that, they've got a few sort of defensemen. Simon Nemec for the Devils, Martin Fehervari. A couple of decent names again. I don't really expect much from the Slovakia team. If anything, I think Denmark are the ones who might be able to push forward a bit. But then we get into sort of the middle ground, the next sort of tier, as I'd say. In this, and we're sort of looking at Germany, Czechia, Switzerland. These three teams are kind of sort of all mixing it up in the middle there for me. We'll start off with Switzerland. They've got several NHL players. They've got Roman Josi and Nashville Predators. Obviously the Devils trio of Jonas Siegenthaler. They've got Nico Hershier, Timo Meyer. They've also got Tampa Bay's JJ Moser. They've got Kira Schmid for the Vegas Golden Knights, who will probably take the number one goaltending duties. So I think there's a couple of bigger names, a couple of star quality NHL players on this Swiss team, but I don't think they necessarily have the depth to sort of back that up. And it's sort of the same with Germany really. Leon Draisaitl, you may have heard of him. He's obviously going to be captaining this team. They've also got Tim Stutzler, JJ Peterka, Lucas Reichel, Moritz Seider. You've got all these, Philip Grubauer in goal. Like they've got, again, surprisingly a high amount of decent top quality NHL players. Have they got the full squad to really make a big push? I don't necessarily think so, but we'll obviously see where we go from that. And then we have Czechia. Again, in the same thing, we've got David Pasternak, who's obviously a great 100-point player, consecutive 100-point player in the NHL, so he's going to be a star player on there. But they've also got Colorado's Martin Necas. Obviously, he's come off a bit of an injury, so we'll see how healthy he is. And then Vegas has sent Thomas Hertel. They got Radko Gudas on the blue line, which is a big machine. He'll try putting some good hits. Obviously, Philip Hronek as well for the Canucks. He might enjoy playing with a more decent team this year rather than with that horrific Canucks team this year. But again, they've got Karel Vermelka in net. Obviously, Lucas Dostal, Dan Vladar as well. If only they could play more goaltenders, they might be doing all right. They've got a decent trio there, I think. But other than that, then I think we're kind of moving on into the sort of the top tiers. Top tiers for me, you got Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the United States. I'm going to start with Finland because I think they are sort of the fourth team in this list. I guess for me in sort of power rankings, they've got Sebastian Aho, Mikko Rantanen, Miro Heiskanen. You're thinking of that Esa Lindell, Nico Mikkola, Jussi Saros. I know they've lost Luukkonen. Luukkonen ain't going to be playing in this tournament. They've got a decent roster across the board. They've got depth, but do they have that extreme start quality in comparisons to, say, Canada, USA, and maybe a bit of Sweden, really? I sort of see Finland and Sweden as sort of being like the 1Bs, and the Canadians and the Americans being sort of the 1As in this tournament there. So Finland, I think, sort of fourth place going into the tournament for me. Sweden coming in at third. Obviously got William Nylander, Rickard Rakell, Elias Pettersson, who enjoy playing with a decent squad as well. Jesper Bratt, Adrian Kempe, Lucas Raymond, Mika Zibanejad. They've got Erik Karlsson on defence, Rasmus Dahlin. And then for me, and my dark horse pick for this is Sweden because of the goaltending duo of Philip Gustafsson and Jesper Wallstedt, the Minnesota lads. I will be cheering this team on throughout. I think they're going to be sort of my pet team. I touched on it before, how Great Britain aren't in this tournament, so I can't get all patriotic about us Brits and how we should be winning everything. We shouldn't. But then it gives us a bit of free will, and Sweden are going to be my team, I think. I'm going to get behind Joel Eriksson Ek as well. I can't wait to see how they do. But then, obviously, we're hit into the top two. I'm not going to read off a whole list of names. You can read off the squads for Canada and America, and you just see star quality all over. And ultimately, I think the best two teams in this sort of tournament are going to be Canada and America. If they compete against each other in any sort of part of the tournament, there may be a chance they don't play each other, which for me would be an awful shame. But if they play each other, it's going to be absolutely great. Obviously, it's a shortish tournament, sort of 11 days being played, so games are going to come thick and fast. Obviously, in the NHL sort of playoffs, they sort of play best of 7, don't they? So it's not going to be consistent. Each game is going to be extremely super important. I'll touch on the sort of the group, how they sort of set it up. So in Group A, we have Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, and France. For me, Canada is going to win that group. Czechia and Switzerland are going to fight it out for second place. I think France are going to prop up the rear on that for me. We then have Group B, Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, and Italy. I think it's pretty clear from this group. It's going to be Finland and Sweden that will probably go through. I can honestly see Sweden winning the group. Obviously, that's what I want to happen because I want to get behind Sweden. But yeah, I think with Italy in that group being the weakest team, I think it's going to be easy 2 wins for Finland and Sweden for that, and then it's going to come down to them playing each other. Who wins that game will go through on top. I said no shit, Sherlock, really, on that. Great analysis there by me. And then the final group, Group C, United States, Germany, Latvia, and Denmark. Now, United States have probably got the easiest route through for me. Germany, I think, should be expected to come in second in that group. Latvia and Denmark. Again, this is where I think Denmark could provide a bit of a surprise. You see Denmark, Germany, like if Denmark could win that game and then beat against Latvia, they could see themselves in a really great position. I think the United States are going to win every game. And then obviously we go from there. Obviously, as we go through these games, we'll provide updates both on social media and obviously recording on this podcast here as well. We'll touch on predictions. I was going to try plan it all out, but when you get into seedings and playoffs and stuff like that, it's you can't really predict the whole tournament as such. But I know Matt fancies Canada to sort of win the tournament, and he can't really argue with that. I think America will give them a good fight, but I do think Canada are the favourites, and so does Matt. Matt's underdog team is going to be Finland. Mine's Sweden, his is Finland. I think they're the only sort of realistic two underdog choices. You can't really pick the United States as an underdog, and I don't think Germany, Czechia, or anyone else like that are going to overcome Canada and things like that. But it's just, this tournament is going to be so fun. It is top heavy. Canada and America, obviously, it is obviously predominantly a North American sport in that sense, and it's spreading out across, and it's a great. This is going to be absolutely great for Europe to really like watch some decent hockey, get youngsters involved, watching, wanting to play. Obviously, we've talked about sort of barriers to entry and things like that, but this is going to be a great way to increase this sort of support for this sport. The Winter Olympics are great in general. I've got a lot of time for the Winter Olympics, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so we'll touch on then sort of the first games that you can expect to watch. Sort of moving forward, and obviously so the first games take place on the 11th and kicks off with a game for Slovakia and Finland. Now they're playing at in the UK time anyway, GMT, 20-4 in the afternoon. Absolutely great time for those of us to watch it at a normal time. It's normally what time the football's on, so no excuses to give it a watch. Although I appreciate it is a Wednesday, so some people might be at work. But then we, I guess, they kick it off properly with Sweden, Italy at so it's at 8:10. What they generally do, if you're not aware as well, they normally state at times of sort of a 3:30 kick-off or an 8 o'clock kick-off. But for some reason they do obviously the national anthems, and they do other sort of presentations at the start of the game, and so that's why the games start a bit later. So 8:20, Sweden against Italy. That's going to be a fantastic game to watch. And then on Thursday we have 4 games being played. It starts off at 11 o'clock, Switzerland v France. 20-4, 3:30, Czechia against Canada. That is a sneaky game to keep an eye on there. Germany, Denmark at 8 o'clock, as well as Latvia against America. Hopefully we should be recording on Friday, so we'll recap those games and give you a flavour of how the tournament started. But on Friday we have Finland, Sweden at 11 a.m. That is another corker of a game. Italy, Slovakia at the same time. France, Czechia at 3:30, and Canada, Switzerland at 8 p.m. Don't know whether you watched the women's tournament has already started. Obviously we're covering the men's tournament, but the women's tournament started sort of last week. Canada, Switzerland played each other, and Canada absolutely smashed Switzerland out of the water. So hopefully that's not necessarily the same as how it's going to play out in the men's tournament. But honestly, I'm extremely excited to watch some Olympic hockey. It's sort of like the Four Nations from last year, but on a much larger scale. I think that gave us a real sort of flavour as to what to expect. Obviously, Four Nations, for me, is kind of more bragging rights, whereas this is the Olympics. These players could be Olympic gold medalists, which actually carries a lot of power and a lot of kudos there. So I think this is going to be absolutely great. I can't wait to talk about it with Matt, and obviously with yourselves. If you want to get involved, get in touch with us. Matt's got the social media stuff rattled down to a T, but you can contact us on social media, via email. Anything you want to know, anything you want us to break down, then please just get in touch. But yeah, I can't wait to watch some hockey. It has been weird these past 4 or 5 days with no NHL action to fall back on. Pausing our fantasy leagues. It's just really, really strange not having hockey on in the middle of the season. But yeah, looking forward to it. I'll speak to you later on. But yeah, get in contact with us. And we'll speak to you later on this week. Take care.